muddy, but it's not as muddy as I thought it would be. Snow melt and rain. 2 days ago I snuck in a snow drift here. There was 4 feet of snow. Today it's just mud. And 2 days of solid rain and a 10-degree increase in temperature. Bunny rabbit. Yeah, muddy as all hell. You still see the patches of snow. Time to get trapping again. Ride down the hill. Didn't see any deer tonight. Trying to stay off the tractor trails, so I'm not cutting it up. I'm just driving through the mowed crop fields, not to tear up the path. Oh, I can feel the temperature change when I got down in the valley here. Alright, time to go home.
You should be able to see me. I wanted to show you this hat that I got. It's actually a beanie, but it has a light built into it. So it's got 3 powers on it. So that's off, that's high, medium, and low. But it pushes out, and then you can put it in and charge it. It's really handy for trapping. I was just bringing the ATV back inside. This is a good little tool to have. It's tough to see it because the light is blinding the camera, but let me see if I have. There we go. Now you can see it. So it's just a little push button. It sits inside the hat, and then you can turn it on and off. I use it too for going in and out of my tree stand, but it's really handy. It's got USB plug-in, so you just take the little light unit out of the rubber ring in the hat, and then you can plug it in. Hat and a headlight all in one unit. Can't beat that. Okay, back trapping today. Had to take a little break due to weather, unfortunately. I also had issues with the other ATV I was using, the bike I was using. It wouldn't charge, but that's a different video. I'm out resetting some of my sets today. Yeah, took my buckets off. It's hard to believe it's 42 degrees today. You can see I'm in my Realtree Outfitters t-shirt. And last week it was minus 13, and I got stuck in a snow drift over here that was 4 feet deep. So what do you do? This is the weather. Unfortunately, we had a very deep freeze. Arctic storm came down. We got a bunch of snow. It was below freezing for over a week, probably 2 weeks below freezing, and it sustained below freezing. And then unfortunately what happened was it warmed up. That's not the worst part of it. It warmed up, but then it rained for 3 days. So it's like I'm really tired of that. You've seen the flooding I dealt with, at the start of the late season, and now I'm back to dealing with the same flooding. Today it's starting to dry out a little bit, so hopefully I'll be able to set my cables back up and everything. It's not the fact that the cables won't work in the bad weather. They will, but when you can't access where your traps are, what do you do? I had to legally check my traps every 36 hours. That's the maximum amount of time. And I'm not wrecking equipment to try and tearing up the tractor trails on the farm to try and get in to check sets. This area is already pretty wet. There's a lot of springs. I've explained before, there's a lot of springs in this farm, which is really why the agricultural land here is very rich. There's multiple springs on the farm. Actually, the farm is named after the springs. But you can see behind me here, there's water. Can you see it? Yeah, see, right here. That's a spring. It's just coming right up out of the ground. And then it flows down. There's another one over here. It comes up out of the ground and flows down. There's another one in the field over there. It comes up out of the ground and flows down into the little creek. So it's very fertile ground, but it is also very wet. It's red clay. So hopefully it's dried out a little bit today. And I'll at least be able to check them without leaving, ruts in the field that are tearing up the freaking paths. I've actually been driving in the crop fields that are mowed. That's what I've been doing. I've been staying off the path. See here, they're still laying water here. It's really muddy still, but that's okay. We can work around that. What I'll do is just park the ATV and then walk the rest of it, where I know it's going to be really muddy. That's what we're going to do. All right, let's get back to trapping. Resetting some of my cables here. All right, I'm going to give it a little bit of a tip here. See these little plastic collars for the cable that you anchor it onto the wire support. If you're trapping in cold weather and you're going to move a snare, you're going to leave your cable up, whatever you're going to do with it, try and make sure you leave that in the rod, because if you leave that out in like freezing weather, these collars become very hard and they can be difficult to push back onto the support rod. You really have to work it on there to get it to stretch a little bit. When it's warm and sunny like today, it's not a big deal. They warm up really quick and boom, it goes on real easy. But I found when it's cold that they are really difficult to put on those rods sometimes. So if you're gonna leave your cable up, leave the collar attached and then just close the loop and bend it out of the way of the trail if you're not gonna be able to check them. But we've got that one redone. The snow has knocked down some of my trails, but that's okay. It's still watery in here. Look at this. Oh, I got another tree down. Good. Just what I need. You can see the snow has flattened some of it. Another tree broken here. Story of my life. I'll be spending half the springtime cleaning up a fallen tree. Look at the vine that's on this. Look at it. That's crazy. Look at the creeper vine on it, all the way up it. You can see where it's snapped off right there. I better be real careful handling that, because if it's poison ivy, I'm gonna be in a world of hurt. Look, it actually choked the tree all the way, right to the top. That's crazy. You can see here where the deer comes in from. That's the border of the property right there. That's the neighbor's cornfield on the other side. You can see where the deer come through the gap there where the pool of water is. Yeah, it was funny. Last week when I took the other bike, I've been checking the farm after work of it, to monitor how the conditions are up here. But I took the bike the other night, and there was still a lot of snow on the ground, but on a Sunday we had really strong winds, really, really high winds, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And what it did was it scoured all the snow off the edge of the field, off the facing edge of the hill. So the wind pushed the snow up over the top of the hill and then was depositing it on the other side of the hill. So when I came up the hill, it was just frozen snow. There was an inch or two of snow maybe on it. But when I got on the back side of the hill, there was 4 feet, some spots 5 feet of snow. And at night, it all looks the same. And now I understand why guys like Norm on True North Living and Jason Roberts, I know now why they use snow machines instead of ATVs to check their trap lines. It's because an ATV, the tires sink into the snow, and then the chassis of the ATV gets stuck on the snow, and you go nowhere. This machine has selectable 4-wheel drive. The other machine doesn't. It's a permanent 4-wheel drive, but this machine has selectable 2 and 4-wheel drive, and then it has a diff lock as well, so it locks the front and rear differentials with e-lockers. So it's pretty difficult to get it stuck, but when you high center it, it will get stuck. So that's exactly what happened. I was driving along and it looked perfectly flat, and it wasn't perfectly flat. I hit a dip in the field where the snow had built up over it, and the bike just skid right up on top of the snow, and then I had no traction with the ground. It was basically sitting in the air. I said, oh man, if I get stuck here, the landowner's never going to let me live it down. But I got it out. I backed it up, zigzagged the handlebars a little bit to like cut down into the snow so I could get some traction, and then I backed up out of it. But then I made it around the rest of the field to go down and check the pond, and on the way back I got stuck in the same freaking snowdrift. It's like, oh, but I got it out. So yeah, now I see where those guys use snow machines. I really don't have a use for a snow machine. For the amount of snow that we see, I mean, we can get some pretty bad storms. We've had storms where we've had 2-3 feet of snow in one night. That would be particularly bad. But we can, averagely we can have 5-6 inches a foot pretty regularly over the winter time. But not like, if you go up to New York with the lake effect snow in Buffalo, or Wisconsin where you get, lake effect snow coming off the lakes there. Those people can get 10 feet of snow. They can get 5 feet of snow overnight. Especially if the wind and the wind and the precipitation are moving in the right direction. That's a whole different world. But yeah, it was fun. I didn't need to use the winch. It does have a winch on it. The other bike too has a winch on it. So I can always, I was out in the open field, so I'd had to run that cable a long way to get it to a tree to pull the thing out. But I had a shovel at the cabin. Worst case scenario, I'd have just dug it out. But the adventures of trapping. Now it can be just as bad in the mud. Mud is just as bad as snow like that. At least when snow is frozen and it's hard packed, you can drive on it. But with mud, you can drive over a piece of land and you just sink right up to the frame rails, and it can be real hard to get out of that. That's just as bad. So you just have to be careful where you're driving. All right, we got our cables back up. We got some traps reset. Now we just wait and see if there's any animal traffic. Probably grinners. Gotta love catching a grinner. It's always fun to catch something. The grinners now I've caught, actually my first animal I ever trapped in the United States, the first animal I ever trapped was a grinner. And I was damn happy to see that grinner. So I don't mind trapping grinners. I know they're a nuisance to, serious canine trappers and stuff that, guys spend a lot of time, especially when they're setting out long lines and they're setting sets for bobcat or coyote or, animals like that, or fox. They can be a nuisance, but I'm just trapping for fun. So if I see that there's an awful lot of possum, I've taken quite a few really large possums off the farm, but smaller possums I just let go. It's not for eradication. It's not about that. You keep your couple of numbers down, and you want a nice healthy balance of everything. That's the trick. It's the same with the coons. It's like I'm not going to take little coons. I'm just going to let them go. I know they can be a nuisance, but it's not worth killing an animal unless they're with plague proportions. Now I've had years here where I've had plague proportions of raccoons, where every time I come up, every set I had a coon in it. So not every year is like that. Of course they have die-offs and stuff just like anything else, but it's good to have a good healthy population of them, and they're fun to see out in the woods when you're out hunting and stuff. It's always cool to see something, coon or a fox or whatever it is. You just have to enjoy them when they're out in the woods, but they're fun to catch too. They're fun, and especially fun to release. All right, I'm gonna dump my gear back at the cabin, and we're off. Then we'll come and do some checks. Next weekend is the sports show, so I'll be pulling them before that. I'll be pulling my sets before that. So we've got about 5 days of checks, and then we'll see if anything moves. All right, what do we have here? Hard to say. Might be a dove or a pigeon. What's left of it. Now this could have been a raptor. It could have been a cat. Cats will do this too. I don't see any carcass, I just see feathers where whatever caught the bird, you know, plucked all the feathers out of it and ate it. This is the second one I've seen. It's right next to my pine tree area here. That could be definite signs of a cat. And I did see big cat prints the other night. I wasn't sure if it was a bobcat or just a big farm, you know, like a feral cat. That's possible. I mean, even if I caught a bobcat, I'd have to let him go. Bobcat season is over, and I don't have a bobcat tag, so he would be released anyway. That's the second bird kill that I've come across today. I'm gonna go back down and re-lure my my set in the field, the coyote set in the field. Ooh, looks like it's gonna rain. Look at that. Yeah, it's coming. That's okay. Dealt with worse than that. Okay, let's lure this set up and we'll be on our way.